Hello everyone, my name is Silcrow, and this channel is all about my evolution from zero computer knowledge to full game development. This is stage 1 of the channel, essentially the initial learning curve and experimenting phase of development. While I have very little experience using the computer, I grew up on NES to PS3 era games, and was always inspired to design games and stories of my own, because they were ideas that I wished I could play myself, so I'm kind of the primary audience for my own games going forward, rather than any real commercial viability. In this new age where art is being increasingly replaced by thrown-together AI slop and countless developers are losing their jobs, I feel now more than ever like this is something I really have to learn to do. I won't dive too deep into the projects I have potentially planned until we're past this initial phase, but you'll see some aspects of the core ideas blend through with these update videos. While that might make it harder to see the vision and potentially lead to less people taking interest in the studio, I think it's important at this point, with the goal being to eventually gain enough skills to produce multiple games, not all within the same genre. And given that means and various other factors will decide which projects are tackled in what order. One example is this area I created to refamiliarize myself with Unreal's tools after a long break. This rough draft represents one of the areas in a future project idea. Since the last video, I've updated it to make it more cluttered and rickety while adding large chains to help further show how the city is being held to the tree. This future project will likely be one of the ones I do the most concept drafting and experimenting towards in this phase, with several other areas available to potentially create these rough concept drafts for the finished product. This would allow me to essentially play a scaled down version of the game and see if I like the order of events, locations, and other features I have chosen for the project. You'll also notice several placeholder assets I made here in Unreal Engine since I have no Blender experience yet. Consider these the programmer art, if you will, although I know this likely isn't the most practical way to do this. Stepping back from there, however, in my first 100 days video, I covered the first area I ever made in Unreal Engine, a small area that became jokingly known as Ball Pillar Temple during these early days, which I then remade with the skills and assets created since then. I've since remodeled part of the area, adding a golden lock over the main sanctum gate, changing the main objective, and adding boulder traps modified from my Crusher's code. This area is really funny, and I'll be updating it as I learn more to compare the different versions and levels of understanding I have over time. I really struggle with coding and especially animation, and I hate how slow making real progress learning feels, but I try to constantly motivate myself and push myself to work on more. There's a lot of failed attempts on things I don't really include in the videos. I keep trying to fix the animation on the Ball Pillar Temple file, but to no avail. I turned my extra graybox file into a first-person character by altering the camera before moving over into my Prism file to work on expanding a prototype of another one of the projects I'd like to make down the line. We explore the scene with our soul gun, which we can use to light up certain targets and help clear the darkness. This will be really important to this project down the line, and this is one of the projects I'd love to expand on as we learn. Think Blame meets Portal and Shadow Tower. This is actually one of the ideas I think would be the most fun to work on during this first year of learning game dev, so I'm going to share a little more than I said I normally would in these early videos. This project I'm codenaming Dusk is all about exploring in a survival horror puzzle dungeon crawler themed around light and dark. There's a lot more planned for this one, but hopefully the surreal atmosphere and idea already sounds interesting. This could very well end up being the first or one of the first games that we ever make as a studio. So this is essentially Devlog 0, or I guess maybe a pre-dev log of the content that we'll be making going forward, so hopefully everyone enjoys this. And because I'm still very early on in learning code, I am completely open to feedback on what would be better practices or what I should do to improve as a developer when it comes to the coding front. And I may even ask you guys for suggestions on how to fix things or what I should do, since many of you probably have more experience than I do. I had someone ask what kind of game we're going to make, and like I said earlier in the video, the plan is more so to learn in general so that we can create multiple games down the line, as this is a career that I'd like to get into long term. But I do have a few projects that are earlier up on my roster for things that I would like to tackle first. I mentioned 2 of those earlier in passing, but I do have a few others on the shelf as well. I was also asked if I'm making a hyper-realistic 3D platformer, which is definitely understandable based on the background footage. I know this is kind of like a weird platformer, but that's mostly just because this allows me to test a bunch of different mechanics and my coding knowledge in general by implementing them, and this is just a very convenient way to make a basic gameplay loop. That being said, I'm not against making a platformer down the line, and some of my games will likely have platforming elements of some kind in them. I think if I was going to go all the way into a platformer, it would probably be more like a Metroidvania style platformer, though. Video's kind of just turning into a Q&A at this point, but another question I was asked is inspirations behind, I guess, this level in particular, or maybe just the game idea that they were seeing with this level. And while there isn't any one particular inspiration for this level or anything, I'll flash a list up now of several of the games that are inspiring our work as a team going forward. I know it's not a ton to work off of when it comes to gauging whether you should be interested in us or not, but hopefully the hints I've given so far and the inspirations behind it inspire a little confidence in our projects going forward. I totally understand why it's not making me an overnight sensation though. Unlike this game, however, I'd like to make it clear that we're not just shooting in the dark with absolutely no idea of what we want to do. There is an end goal and many ideas I'd like to explore on the way there. There's a method to the madness, so to say. I have roughly 6 core principles that will inspire and shape every game I produce going forward, and a vision for where to take the studio. And this is something I'm committed to, no matter how long it takes or how hard it becomes. When I began this process, I already set out to ensure the studio would become something legit, with its first additional member, W187, being paid out of pocket to do VFX and music going forward, along with the other aspects of development down the line. I'll even play a brief sample of some dungeon music I had him cook up while experimenting and learning to use the software. Quite the scary retro tune to accompany you throughout the dungeon. Along with this SFX software, however, he's also been learning direct C++, whereas I've been learning blueprinting, as someone with no computer experience who's not quite ready to delve into that mess yet. If you'd like to show your support, a like and a follow is always appreciated, or you can check out my original channel, where I actually play many of the games that inspire me as a developer. I'm trying to get these channels monetized because I make very little, and I'd like to funnel all the money that I get from both channels and from my job back into game development. My original channel has gone up nearly 50 subscribers in the past 2 months, and this channel, upon just starting, has already gained a few subscribers, so I'm very happy with all the people that have already shown their support. With any luck, we'll be able to get both these channels to 1,000 subscribers. And if the ad revenue ends up being worth it, we might be able to put that towards trying to take college level classes for coding. While by no means necessary, I think proper classes would speed up the learning process significantly and might be very helpful down the line. And of course, if you don't care about the game dev aspect, you could always follow my other channel just to watch the gaming content that I post over there. It's mostly Souls-like and other fantasy game content. Although if you watched this far into the video, you're more than likely here for the game dev, so let's get back to that, shall we? Another thing to mention is that while we're not actively looking for anybody at the moment, we are open to hiring people down the line for things like art, coding, etc. I mean, I've even had a person who's interested in like doing voice acting approach me already, and I've told him that I'll let him know if anything comes up in the future. So there are definitely roles available. That being said, if that was something you're interested in, don't put all your eggs in one basket and assume that that's something that's going to come up very recently. More of a down the line situation. Unfortunately, those are all the major updates that I have for now. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll probably have another video out soon, but I try to only post when I have like enough progress made to where I can really make a video about it, so don't expect super frequent content here on this channel. I do post daily on my other channel, however. Although if you've watched this far into the video, Let me know if you enjoy videos of this length or if you prefer longer or shorter. The most popular video on this channel right now was only like 2 minutes long, and it was just me showing off one of the levels. So if people are interested in like all the small updates, I can do little tiny posts as well. I just figured I would try to keep this channel to more long form, quote unquote professional videos and more devlog style stuff, but we'll figure all that out down the line, honestly. If after everything you've heard you still think I'm a fraud, feel free to leave a negative comment in the comment section. It'll only boost me in the algorithm and make me stronger, so I enjoy your seething hatred. Thank you to everyone who enjoyed, however, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.